Hi, Mr. Yee. I think we can start the session now. Is it okay?
Yes, please do. I've been waiting with a lot of excitement. Come.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Please.
Hello and good morning to Mr. Yee Mei Ken and fellow participants. Welcome and thank you for joining us on this morning session, which is about preparing for pupillage, expectations and reality. I'm Chloe Yong, your moderator for this session. Before we start with our parallel session, let me remind the participants to mute your microphone to prevent any disturbances throughout the session. You may leave your camera on, and I highly encourage participants to relay your concerns and questions for the panelists in the chat box for the question and answer session at the end of session. First of all, before we proceed, let me briefly introduce you to the panelists for today. Mr. Yee Mei Ken. Mr. Yee Mei Ken is a partner in Sean DeLamore & Co. He takes a keen interest in legal career development for junior lawyers and believes in inclusiveness and diversity in practice. He has more than 20 years of practice in the law field. Not only that, he also often defends the media and frequently appears as a counsel at the High Court and Appellate Courts. Mr. Yee is ranked by Chambers Asia Pacific as leaders in their field and the Legal 500 Asia Pacific as leading individual in dispute resolution, which is very commendable. How are you today, Mr. Yee?
I'm good, Chloe. Thank you very much.
Glad to hear so, Mr. Yee. For today's session, Mr. Yee will enlighten us all about preparing for pupillage, from what to expect in this matter, and what is the reality that the law students need to face. On that note, this is a very important topic for the law students to take note of. And since Mr. Yee has been in the field for more than 20 years, his experience would surely be the best guidance for us. Let us not wait anymore and hear from Mr. Yee about this topic.
Okay, thank you. I assume that is you passing the mic to me, Chloe.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. Yes, I've been waiting with a bated excitement to speak to all of you. Thank you very much, participants, for joining my session, which I'm told is about expectations and reality, and to share some points of preparing you for pupillage. Well, let me just start first and foremost. Let me just see, 45 minutes. 45 minutes of delay and lateness is certainly a sure way of not getting a pupillage. All right, let's start from that note. Okay. Clearly, I just want to make a point of punctuality. I mean, with no pun intended for the organizer. I think ALSA has done a great job, in organizing this for the two students. But given this topic, I think that's the first thing that we want to remember. Be punctual, all right? As a student and as well as a lawyer, that is very, very important, okay? And arriving at interview, even sending an email to the potential employee of yours, be prompt and be responsive. That is crucial. This is how we assess a pupil and how we assess a character. Look, like Chloe has said, I've been in practice for quite many years now, but always when I look at the younger lawyers and pupils, I just tell myself, and in a way to stay young, doesn't seem that long ago. So it gives me great pleasure to accept this invitation to speak to all of you. I have dealt with pupillage for a while now, right? In my firm, I'm in a KL-based firm, Sean DeLamore. Some of you may know. If you don't, and I would never take no as an answer. So that's something that you should also bear in mind, because now you have the internet, all right? So there can never be no, and you should not know. Okay. I now, from pupillage, dealing with interviews, I have now taken on the role of training the young lawyers to get lawyers together, because whatever that you experience now in school, will continue in a different way, but a professional way in your legal practice. Okay, just think about that. And my purpose is to leave you some thoughts today, and hopefully you will walk away with some better tips of moving forward as a young lawyer. All right. So when I say that, is that, you know, I just had a town hall with my firm all about, you know, from pupils, lawyers, and partners. All right, I'm saying partners as well, including senior partners, just 2 weeks ago. All right, we had a town hall via Zoom, right? More than 100 plus of us together to talk about legal practice and, you know, improving ourselves, as well as to remind us of certain basics. I think all of us need that at some point in time. So that brings me to my first slide that you see on screen. So that was the first slide that I shared in the office 2 weeks ago that you are looking now. So let me ask you this question. What do you see on your screen now? All right, I give you 2 seconds to think about it. Okay, it's not that difficult. All right, there are different faces that we are very familiar with, that you play on your phone every day, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, so on and so forth. They are basically emoticons of various reactions. All right, you get an angry face, you get a happy face, you get a sad face, or you get a, you know, a no reaction, blur face, if I may put it. All right, that is basically the reality. Right, the reality of legal practice is that we face people 24/7. All right, whatever that we do will invite a reaction from a judge, from your boss, from your colleague. Right, so how you would like to maintain your relationship with people is very important, and that is pretty much relevant to pupillage and preparing you for pupillage, because what you do and how you position yourself, okay, how you portray yourself as a lawyer and as a pupil will basically either invite a smiley face or a stone face or an angry face. Right, if you are late in your response, if you are unable to communicate clearly, you don't expect a smiley face to come your way. So think about that, right? Always start on the basis that what is the other person thinking, and how should you get into the mind of that person, right? This is something that I think a lot of students are sometimes lacking, and I hope that what I'm speaking to you today will add some value to certain soft skills of yours to become a better lawyer. All right. So next slide, please. Now, in my brief, okay, I don't know whether you all know, ALSA is being very helpful, that, you know, they have given us some guidelines as to what I should cover in this topic. So I try my best to do that and to answer your question. I suppose this was a common question that all of you will have in mind, and to also debunk certain myth of yours that you may have. All right. So if you notice at the beginning of this particular slide, I say brief. Okay, that is lawyer talking. All right. A lawyer, just like you, act on instructions. From now, in a classroom and in an exam, that you read the exam question, that will soon become a brief, or instructions that are given by your client or a solicitor's, if he's instructing you as counsel to argue a case in court, to understand what the case is about. And as a lawyer, then you input your legal knowledge and to prepare your arguments to go to court. Of course, myself, I'm principally a litigator, so that's what I do. For those of you who will soon venture into perhaps non-contentious work, similarly, is a brief that is going to be given by client on possibly an acquisition or a merger between two companies. People will come and see you and say that, look, I would like to invest into this company. What do I do? How should I approach it? And that's where the thought process will come. Okay. Now let's come back to that. I'm told that one of this topic that may always revolve around the students, which are each and every one of you, I believe, that there is this issue, and this issue is not new, okay? This issue has been around all the time. So, you know, are you going to employ local or overseas graduates, all right? Is there actually a difference? Is there a favoritism? Okay, let's call a spade, all right? You know, would you prefer one over the other? Okay, let me tell you, in my years of practice, I have worked with both graduates, all right? I have worked with different people, right? That is why if you see on the slide, look right in the middle, local or university, I have intentionally put it as a dotted line. Okay, it is not a clear line, all right? Dotted line basically means this, all right? There is a difference, okay? Let me tell you this, there is a difference. And both sides of the divide, if I could call it, has its pros and cons, because that is life, right? No two persons are the same, but I do not believe that they are divided by virtue of just being local and overseas, right? The education system is different. Being local university has its advantage and may perhaps has its certain disadvantage at a certain respect in practice. Similarly, overseas students as well, all right? If you ask an overseas students which return from, I think mostly now UK, I think Australia, but by far is fewer nowadays, that they do not know anything about National Land Code, all right? Okay, because they study English common law, land law, all right, and which is vast, is totally different from National Land Code, for instance. So that's where you have an upper hand. But again, you know, all this really is just, to me, is very not something that is actually going to be distinguishable to make you better or a lesser student. My point is that, as I illustrate what we will be looking at in selecting a pupil, and for you to be a good pupil, to prepare yourself, are the criteria that I have set out in the slides. Okay, so conclusion is this: to me, local and overseas graduate, they are the same. All right, the exposure may be different. Okay, so where you are more or lesser, then that's where you need to improve yourself, or in fact share your additional knowledge with your overseas colleague. So, you know, get into the position to improve each other, all right? You have to be confident. You have to be confident that, look, I know this much, all right? It doesn't matter where I'm from or where you're from, we are equal, okay? Go from that basis. You must tell yourself that, all right? You must be confident and always have pride in your work. But having said that, and I always tell this, I'm speaking to you as you are my lawyers, okay? And I always say that to my lawyers. You must take pride in your work. And more importantly, you must know your work, okay? You must be good at your work, then you have the confidence. Confidence is from within. So you must know what you're doing, and therefore you can command the confidence to speak and to communicate, all right? Okay, so I think, you know, by virtue that all of you are sitting here listening to me today, is that, you know, you guys are already very well equipped, you know, you're very good students. When I say good students, means that, you know, I don't need you to be a first class, okay? All right? If you are a first class student, congratulations, well and good. I'm very happy for you. I am not a first class student, all right? Okay, so, but that brings me to the first point, okay? Academic excellence. We all need that, okay? We are here to strive for academic excellence. That's your job now. You've got to study very hard to make sure that you get on the best grade as possible, because that's what you have planned to do, right? And that's what you intend to achieve in order to get through the door, right? I'm telling you, what I'm trying to share to you today is really the reality of life, all right? For your next step, okay? A good degree, of course, is important. A good degree from a good university, it is important. It is a plus point, but it's not and all. Okay, it will be a certificate that will definitely impress your employer, right? A good grades in certain subjects will also impress, but in total, at the end of the day, the academic excellence will get you through the door, right? Through the door of the particular law firm, through the door of chambers, wherever that you want to be. But then the real assessment will come when how you prepare your next step. So for your purposes, I will also talk about the CV, right? In your position, okay? In my time, let me tell you, in my time when I was doing pupillage, no one talked to me about all these things, right? We basically try and figure it out ourselves, and this came from basically my view of how all this ought to be done, and perhaps will help you to prepare yourself for a better interview, okay? And the important thing is this, you have to get through the door. If you don't get through the door, you don't get the opportunity. So that is very important. Put yourself into that mindset. Look, let's now prepare a CV, okay? You and I, we sit down now, we will prepare a CV. What do we write? Okay, first, a cover letter. You obviously prepare a CV as a standard document, and with a nice photo on the top right corner, and with some design, color, whatever that you liked it, right? And then with a cover letter, which I suppose is also standard, okay, but just changing the firm's address or whatever. But then now, let me tell you this, okay? My view is that in total, together with the cover letter, it should not be more than 3 pages, all right? Because that's my tolerance of reading each CV, okay? 1 cover letter, the second page with your CV, and the third page, that's it, all right? I will not look more than that, okay? You have to remember, right? Lawyers, employers, recruiters are basically very busy people, right? We are given many CVs and applications to go through. So time is important. So you must get your attention and get your point across at the word go. All right, you must create an impression on the first line. And this will translate to the same theory in practice as a lawyer, that you must put your arguments through to a judge within the first 2 pages of your submission. Okay, so this is where your change of mindset has to come in as a pupil, all right, as a student to a pupil, and a pupil to a lawyer, if you're coming into real life, right? So you got to do something that is more real. So CV, your cover letter, one common mistake that I want to share with all of you is that, for goodness sake, all right, make the effort of checking the details of the firm and the partners, recipient, so on and so forth, right? Some people will change the letter, addressing it to say Sean Delamore, but in the contents of the letter, it will be addressing it to a different firm. So that, to me, I wouldn't even look beyond that cover letter, all right? Because that already demonstrated a very careless person, a very careless mistake, right? You may think that, oh, Mr. Yee, I think you may be a bit harsh in this regard, right? Everyone makes mistakes. But let me ask you this question. If this is the most important thing in your life now, right, that is getting a job and getting into a good firm for pupillage, and you don't even care to read through the cover letter and make sure that the contents are all clear and properly addressed to the particular partner or the law firm. So that is an impression that you're creating. So then you put yourself in my shoes. Will you then employ this person, or even call this person up for interviews? Because you know why? The next 10 letter that I'm going to read, they are all precise. They are all with good information, very respectable. So naturally, your chances will go to the bottom of the pile, right? Think about that, okay? It's something that is very, very logical. And of course, I hope that, you know, none of you here, I see that there are 40 of you, 41 of you here, and I hope that none of you will make that mistake, because I really do not wish to see a mistake like this in any application, because it's just a mistake that is totally unnecessary, and it will just throw away a good chance. Okay, all right. So let's assume that you get an interview through your CV. The next thing is the physical interview, right? And now, of course, given the current pandemic, many interviews will be conducted via, I suppose, Zoom or Google Meet or you know, virtual, right? Let me tell you, it's the same. You should behave that it is the same. Take it as important and as respectable. That is very important. Okay. So a few points: you should be confident. Get a good voice. All right, and dress well. Speak clearly. Cover this few particular area. I think you're there. All right. Okay. Clearly, one thing that I will always ask during an interview is that, you know, tell me, how many lawyers are there in my firm? Then, you know, all of you will look stumped. My God, what sort of question is that? I thought they're going to ask me, you know, how's my law? How's my company law? How well did I do? But I'm just asking you, you know, how many lawyers are there in Sean Delamore? No one could answer me. All right. Okay. Why do they ask that question? I ask that question is because that I just want to see this particular candidate. How prepared is this candidate? All right. Whether or not this candidate even make the effort to at least go to my website to check out about the firm, learn up a little bit history of the firm, and then only then you can have a conversation. Okay, it is very important. Let me tell you that. All right, please make that effort. Like I said, nowadays with the internet, you have very little excuse. You have very little excuse of not being prepared, and all of you are very good. You know, you can spend a day on Facebook, but you probably won't spend 5 minutes of Googling or learning about a law firm that you're going to have an interview, right? So that again tells me a little bit about you and where you actually prioritize things, whether you're capable of prioritizing things, okay? So have that in mind, and all this will come into your confidence, because the moment that you're unable to answer that question of mine, or some question that I'll just throw at you about the office, about, oh, you know, do you know that, you know, what's the latest event that we have or I have conducted, which is publicly available information? You know, when you have that stump in your interview, you will basically be very affected, right? But then again, it does not matter. If you are there, just tell yourself it's okay. Just be very honest and say that, you know, I'm so sorry, right? It's my fault. I did not go and read up on the latest event of the firm. All right. I promise you I'll do that. Okay. Nothing beats an honest answer. That's very important. Okay. Don't try and be too smart to say that, oh, you know, I spent 1 hour on your internet, on your website, but I did not see this piece of information. But let me try again later. Then I'll perhaps drop you an email to tell you how many lawyers I have you have in the firm. Okay. That is totally unnecessary. Oops. Are we still there? Chloe? Sorry, my screen just changed. Chloe, are you still there?
Hello, Mr. Yee. I think Chloe just got disconnected. So if that's okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Chloe, as and when you can, you share the screen back. So I'm just going to continue speaking with regard to interview. Okay. So coming back to this, when you're seated there, like you and me now, engage in conversation. Okay, it's very important that you look people in the eye, engage in conversation. That's the assessment that we want to make in an interview. Okay. that whether or not this person is confident to engage in a proper conversation, because you need to speak. As a lawyer, you need to speak to your boss, you need to communicate with your colleague, you need to speak to the judge and the client eventually. All right? Okay, so be engaging. Don't just sit there and wait for a question and say, okay, ask me a question, I'll answer. Right? Some of them do that, all right? And if it's too nervous, it's fine to be nervous, but then you must learn to calm your nerve, all right? You are coming to the real world of working now, so tell yourself, there's nothing to be too worried about. Just relax. When you're prepared, that's where confidence will come. Okay? And of course, it always helps to keep the smile, right? When you have no answer, keep a smile and just say that, look, give some intelligent excuse if you have to, right? Don't give stupid excuses, all right? People, tolerance for stupidity sometimes is pretty low. And the other thing is this, one of the things that I could not stand is all this fiddling at an interview. And I have personally experienced that, okay? I have had pupils who come for an interview and they start bouncing off the chair, They start bouncing, We have a chair, then they start, I don't know why, what got into him, or is there a way or him or her to calm his nerve, and it start bouncing off the chair. And, it gives us a very difficult time. We don't even understand what he was talking about when he started doing all these things. So just have poise, have confidence, that will be fine. Okay. Next thing is brand. I'm supposed to talk about brand as well. Good character. That's what I think as a pupil should portray, and have worldview. I don't know whether you all have been told about this in all your lectures or your training session. Okay. To my mind, having a worldview is very important. What does that mean? That means that as a person, as a lawyer, you must be broad-minded. Okay, you must be not here, broad-minded. Okay, broad-minded, please. Right? If nothing that takes you to remember for today from this conversation with me, bring this. Okay, bring this to you. Expand your head, broaden your mindset. That's very, very important. As a person, as a lawyer, right? You don't learn only things about Malaysia. You learn things about Thailand, Singapore, right to Atlanta in the US. Okay, all right. So assuming that you come for an interview now, I will probably engage you in a conversation that, look, what do you think about the US election? All right. And what is your view about Trump and Biden? Okay. Do you particularly like Kamala Harris? Okay. What do you know about Kamala Harris? Right. She's of Indian descent, this, that, and the other. So this other thing is what I call that you must be a person who is equipped with all this. So, just don't play with your phone and rely on information on the internet, for God's sake. All right. Okay. The young people do too much of that. Pick up a newspaper, read news and listen to news and learn about all these things, right? I will ask you, if you were to be in an interview today, all right, I will ask you, what do you think about what just happened in France, okay, with regard to the killing by the purported terrorists of the French people, and on one side where the French teacher is apparently trying to preach or teach freedom of expression and freedom of speech, right, by insulting a particular religion. What is your view? Okay, as lawyers, okay, please bear in mind, all right, each of us are lawyers. We must be capable of having a good mindset to debate and to agree to disagree. Okay, we should be apolitical. We can take a political stand, we can take a political view, but when it comes to debate and in an interview, in a conversation, relax. Engage in a conversation and say that, look, that's my view, right? You have seen for the past day, right, Mahathir's tweet, which has gotten so much of controversy there, okay? You're entitled to have either views, okay, one way or the other. Clearly, we may not agree to a view that is taken in France, all right? So we are entitled to our view too. When you talk about freedom of expression and freedom of speech, that's what we are expressing as well. to be respectful of other people's religion. Okay, so that is something that I would like to hear from a pupil. Engage in a conversation. Okay, so last thing is that, you know, during an interview, please impress upon people that I'm hardworking. That's very important. So, and I'm here to stay. One of the most important thing that a law firm is looking at nowadays is a long-term and sustainable lawyer. Many young lawyers nowadays have very short lifespan. Okay, let me tell you that. So I think there's something that you all should think about. Be serious about your legal career, because once you start practice and once you go into pupillage, you should look at it as a long-term progress. All right, learn and tell yourself to have a long-term view of things. Okay, next slide, please, Chloe. Okay, now this is what I have prepared for you. Okay, with regard to expectation versus reality. I think the topic is expectation and reality. Okay, I think that is probably more fitting, because expectation and reality is probably well, as in literal meaning, they are different and poles apart, but they also meet in many places. Okay, what is your expectation as a pupil? Your expectation as a pupil is that you want to get a good firm who pays you reasonably and to give you a good and comfortable learning environment for the 9 months, and most importantly, eventually to offer you a job. That is the expectation. But in reality, where are you going to go? What are you going to head to? And are you going to get retained and get a job? I think that's what all of us are set out to do and would like to aim for at your stage in your career. Okay, so I'm sharing 5 tips that I think may be helpful to you. So take it away from you and just see whether or not, you know, these are the things that you will remember. And maybe in a couple of years' time, when you get your job, when you're confirmed as a pupil, if you remember these tips, then you can remember me, and you can always know that where to reach out to me too. All right. First thing first is that I need you all to understand this. Okay, being good in law is a given. So when you're a lawyer, I will tell you that, look, being good in law is a given. So don't come and tell me that, look, you know, Mr. Yee, I'm very good in my law. I'm very good in my research, right? I can promise you that I can write a fantastic submission. I will tell you that, is that all you can do? If that's all you can do, then I have, you know, tons of people who can do the same job, right? Why do I need you? Okay, all right? So I'm speaking to you as a person who is in the real world, right? I'm not your lecturer. I'm not your school teacher. So this is what you should expect coming into the working world. So being good in law is something that you must already be prepared. Like now, what you're studying, you know, learning about law, learning about, you know, what negligence is, what contract law is, what land law is something that you should have already been equipped. Okay, that is why you have graduated, or you will be graduating with a good law degree. So being good in law is already there, it's within you. So moving forward to pupillage, the 5 tips, let me start with the first one, which I think that is the most important thing, is being professional. And that is the first thing that I always tell pupils when they come and see me, is that, look, from today onwards, I treat each and every one of you as a professional, as a lawyer that is working in the firm, and you are no difference from others. So I expect you to behave like one and to conduct yourself as one. Because pupillage, sometimes, you know, a lot of things can happen. You can choose not to do so much work, you can choose to be lazy, but if you are the positive one and if you are the proactive one, that's where you will get noticed and you will get a job. Okay, so as it happens, tips number one is also to be prompt. So that's why I started to say being late is not an option. Being prompt means what? Not only being punctual in work, to get to work, all right? Getting to work is something else, but being punctual in your response in your work. Things that you need to submit to your team, things that you need to get back to the partner or to the lawyer that you're assisting, being prompt. So that tells people that you are a reliable person, okay? You are a reliable person. So if I give work to you and say that, look, please look up this point of law for me, that, in arbitration, just go and look up on this point with regard to whether or not an arbitration agreement must be incorporated in writing. Okay, right. So the first thing that you should ask is, okay, when can I get back to you? Or just you should say, I will get back to you by noon tomorrow. That to me is a very positive and very prompt conduct. Okay, and we always like that. As a lawyer, we always like students and pupils who are responsive and responsible. Okay, I will get back to you tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday. No such thing as I will get back to you as soon as possible. Or can I get back to you like next Friday? Look, today is Monday. Why do you need 5 days for certain things? Don't get into this sort of conversation. Plan, have a diary in your hand. Right, as a pupil, very important to have a diary. You must learn to manage yourself and manage your time. All right, prioritize your work. Second point, understand your work and your boss. Very important. Understand your work means, remember what I said at the beginning of this session, the brief. When I give you a piece of work, you should understand it. If you don't understand it, ask. Always ask, then you won't do the wrong thing. And understand your boss. It's very important. Okay. So if you are working for me, then I expect that you understand who I am, what my expectations are. Certain pet peeves of mine, certain things that I can't stand, or even certain colors that I don't like. So if I don't like red color, you don't give me my work in a red folder. I'm just giving examples. I'm not that crazy. Okay, I'm not that OCD. But that is something that you should remember. Okay, if you know that your boss or the partner or your lawyers that you're reporting to has some issues with certain things, navigate around that. Be smart. That's why I say, your broadened mindset has to fit in a lot of all these things in the middle to equip you as a better person, to build a character. That's what I would like to see the young lawyer achieving nowadays. Okay. Third, common sense approach. I don't think I need to explain too much on that. If you don't have that, please start building that now. All right. Very common sense things. All right. Whether when the car comes from the left, whether you should look at the left or whether you should look at the right and the left when crossing the road. As common sense as that. Okay. For instance, if you need to go to somewhere, okay, with a meeting with your boss, right? At 12:30, okay. Well, why don't you just get ready at 12:15? Wait for him at the door and say that, look, should I get a Grab or how are we attending the meeting? All these are initiatives that is very important and common sense. Because why? Because you need to get to the meeting at 12:30, and your boss will be so busy that he may not have forgotten that, oh no, we should go there by Grab or whatever. Or you could offer, should we do it by Zoom? All right, I will organize a Zoom. Take those initiatives. And that's when I say that, hey, okay, this boy or this girl is good. He thinks more than just a piece of work. But remember, the work must be done. Not only this, I don't want you to organize my Grab if you don't know your work and you have not done your work. All this, that's why I say go back to the top. Being good in law is a given, okay? So you would have done your work, but all these little things will make you, in reality, a better lawyer, a better pupil, that you're a very helpful person, okay? Fourth point, solution-driven and think out of the box. I think that is common. To common sense is part of that. But as a lawyer, it is very crucial that we must be solution-driven. When a client comes to see you with a problem, when your partner asks you to with a legal issue, you must be solution driven. We as lawyers will deliver solution. You can't say things like, "Oh, I didn't study this, so I don't know." Okay. If you ever tell me that, all right, I will just tell you that thank you very much. Okay, bye, and please close the door. All right. There's no such thing. You do not know the answer and say that, look, I will go and find out. I will get you an answer by tomorrow noon. That is always your answer. So after that, you go and read the books, you go and do your research, and then come back. Even if you get it wrong, okay, I will be very pleased because you have shown effort, all right? And then you can come and engage me in a discussion to say that, look, how do we develop this further? All right. So you must always try, deliver a solution. That is what lawyers aim to do. And that's what you need to do eventually as a pupil and as a lawyer. And the last point before I end really is this, hardworking. There's no substitute to hard work. I think all of you know, I'm sure all of you are working very hard now to complete your law degree. I'm sure that you will do very, very well. But let me put this thought in your head, okay? You have to have this long-term goal in your head. What do you want to achieve long-term as a lawyer? Right? It is very important. A lawyer is somewhat different from many other careers or jobs, okay? First and foremost, a lawyer is a profession, right? You are a professional. People rely on you on very important matters, be it money or life, okay? If you become a criminal counsel, you deal with life and livelihood of people. You become a civil lawyer, a commercial lawyer, like myself, you may also deal with a lot of things, a lot of money, tens and hundreds of millions that we litigate, though we will never have, but we will litigate on those sort of things. But therefore, it is very important that you must know your job and know your work. All right, and have a long-term view. Okay, one of the common issues that we see in many young lawyers is that nowadays you expect instant gratification, which means that you want a return very quickly, right? Oh, first year lawyer, second year lawyer, when do I go get my next promotion? When am I going to get this? And when am I going to get that? And I don't feel good at this work. I don't feel motivated. Let me also tell you this. Motivation is from yourself. Okay? Don't expect people to motivate you. Don't expect me to motivate you. If you are serious enough in this job, you should motivate yourself to achieve, to reach further. All right? And one of the most common issue that arises when you begin practice is this issue of having work-life balance. And my explanation to you is very simple. If you put them on each side on the scale, work and life, okay, which one comes first? Let me ask you. Work-life balance, which one comes first? It's work. All right? I'm not speaking to try and impress you and try and make you work harder, because if you are not a hardworking person, no one can make you a hardworking person. It's all from yourself. All right? But the reality, okay, this is what I'm telling you, as the reality is that when work is settled, that's where you get your balance in life. Okay? It's that simple. I think that is what you are experiencing in studies as well. If you have done your studies, that is where your confidence in your work and you are confident in walking into the exam hall. That is when also you get a breather in life. You can go and play your games and enjoy a good cup of coffee and have a chat because you know that you have done your work, right? So that's what the meaning of work-life balance is. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I think I've come to the end of my conversation with you, so that I think we could begin a chat. All right. I'm assured by Chloe, the moderator of this session, that all of you are very, very eager to join in conversation. And now I hope that I have not spoken in vain for the past 45 minutes. I would like to see you all start speaking. Can I suggest that I'll leave Chloe to moderate this, if I may suggest. Come on the camera, I would like to see you. Introduce yourself and tell me which university you're from. All right, I'm happy to take any question. Thank you very much.
Now, there is a very good advice that you have given Mr. Yee. It's surely an eye-opening one. I especially agree on the point that we should setting out a long-term goal when no matter in our career or both in our life. Thank you very much to our panelists for an insightful sharing. Now, if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Mr. Yee will be pleased to answer them. You may unmute yourself or type your question in the chat box. Due to the time constraint, we could only take 2 or 4 questions.
Hello, my name is Abdul Hakim. Can I ask a question to Mr. Yee?
Please, Hakim, go ahead.
Okay, I'm from USIM, University Science Islam Malaysia. I have a question. What can we expect the alternative dispute resolution 10 years later? Question. Maybe there is improvement in IT or artificial intelligence. Can you advise us on that?
Sorry, Hakim, I think your transmission, there was some issue in the internet, so you dropped off. I couldn't hear your question. Could you repeat that, please?
What can we expect from alternative dispute resolution ADR 10 years later?
10 years later. So what do you want to know?
Maybe now these people likely prefer ADR as it is more cheaper. So can you advise us? Do we need to focus on litigation such as court things, or build our knowledge on ADR so
Okay.
we can broaden our job?
Okay, I think I see, I get your question. Your question, Hakim, is this, that what is the future of ADR in legal practice for the next 10 years? I think that's what you're trying to say. And whether or not as a young pupil or lawyer, you should focus on litigation or build your strength on alternative dispute resolution. Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
My answer is really this. Okay, it's very simple. First of all, I don't think about 10 years. I think about now. That's very important, right? You should think about now, all of you. Okay, you should be good now first. Then your 10 years will come. If you think too far ahead and without building the foundation now, that I think is something that may not work out. So to bring to the point that you would like to know is that my suggestion is that you should always start with litigation. Okay, litigation will build your foundation as a lawyer. Even eventually, for all of you who will venture out into alternative dispute resolution, arbitration, or what have you, or to corporate work, or even going in-house as a legal counsel, right? Litigation is an essential knowledge. It will ground you, it will give you a very good fundamental of a broad-based knowledge, right? Join a firm which is good, which is active in litigation if you wish to do that, okay? And that will give you a very good exposure and hone your skills in the legal practice. And to your point, Hakim, ADR is not necessarily cheaper, okay? That is what all of us study in school. But when it comes to real life, unfortunately, sometimes now that arbitration is getting quite expensive, right? It depends. Certain area like construction arbitration is still necessary because of the documentation and the technical expertise involved. But other than that, arbitration has somehow becoming a little bit more expensive compared to court proceedings, because nowadays in Malaysia, courts are actually very fast and very active, and comparatively is actually a cheaper avenue to resolve dispute. Okay, but then if you want to talk about setting your sight further, you're going to talk about regional arbitration, all right? Regional and international arbitration. that is something that will go on for a long time. So if you're interested in that area, that is something that you should start learning and something that you should get yourself involved into such a dispute, right? A regional and international arbitration. That's something that all of us will have to experience at some point in our life. Okay. Next question.
Mr. Yee, there's one
Yeah.
question from our participant, Kang Zhen Leong from UNISA. He would like to know, in writing the CV, does the applicant require to state the details of work in their previous internship in other firms or any other work experience, if any, or mere mentioning the firm is sufficient?
Okay. First question is, where is this Kang Zhen Leong fella? Why is he not coming on to ask the question himself or typing?
Yeah, he's typing in the chat box.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing the chat box. No worries. Okay, I think is Kang Zhen Leong. Okay, now question is this. I'm speaking on my part, of course. I'm not particularly impressed with people who have multiple internship of 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks in 10 firms. Okay, that to me is just a collection exercise in the CV, because you probably learn nothing in those 2 weeks. I would prefer someone who actually do a more serious internship, a long-term internship, a longer-term internship, and actually learn something. So to answer your question, maybe it's good to state the name of the firm with a brief experience, because bottom line is that what we will be looking at in the CV is still your degree, all right, and your real work experience. In fact, if you tell me that you have worked in Starbucks as a barista for 6 months, I'll be very happy, because I love my coffee. So at least I know that I can have a conversation with you on coffee. Yeah, okay. But you tell me that you have interned for like 5 firms within the span of your summer vacation in 2 months. I'll basically just skip through that, because I don't think there's too much value on that. All right. So maybe one thing that all of you should consider is that, you know, if you want to do an internship, do a slightly longer term and a particular area. So at least in your internship, you can say that, look, I have learned family law in this internship, right? I've learned divorce proceedings, or have participated or assisted in the divorce proceedings. Okay, so the next question, Adnan from UCL Essex. Okay, what are the strategies that your law firm undertakes to mentor chambering students? Pupillage students that have graduated overseas have trouble with grasping Malaysian law. All right, Adnan, I suppose she's somewhere here, Adnan. Now, answer to you is that I don't know whether strategy is the correct word. Strategies is what we use in litigation or at work, but we do, I mean, if my firm, Insurance, we do have organized rotation system. Okay, we assign each pupil to each department, right? So we have many practice groups, right? Apart from the main practice groups, we have TMT, we have, for instance, private wealth, different from, you know, the main practice group to the niche practice groups. So what we do is that we will assign our pupil on a monthly rotation basis to each practice group for them to learn and for them to develop an interest. Once they have identified their belonging, which means that if you are good at corporate work, that's where we will start training you and taking you off the rotation system to focus you in corporate work, or focus you in litigation, or focus you in IP for practice, for instance. So that's Insurance, that's how we do it, because we believe that this system has worked for a long time. I mean, I myself was a subject of that system. Just for your information, Shun Dalamo is my first job and my only job until now. All right, I chambered in that firm. In fact, it's the only application that I sent when I was in UK. It's the only application that I sent to Malaysia, and they offered me an interview. I went for an interview. I got an offer. So I chambered Insurance, and I stayed there until today. So yes, in that sense, maybe I'm a bit biased with regard to the long-term goal and long-term career, because I am actually living that path at the moment. There's no right and wrong, but I'm just trying to tell you all that perhaps have a longer term view, right? Many people, the younger lawyers now, unfortunately, have a much shorter term view, which I do not think that will augur well in your career. All right. To second part of your question, Anand, is this: no problem. All right. Like I said, it's a dotted line. The differences is a dotted line. You, as an overseas graduate, your job is to come back to learn up Malaysian law, because you're intending to practice here. You have to learn up Malaysian law. So why should there be a problem? If it's something new, you just have to learn it up and deal with it. So I don't see that to have an issue at all. Okay, with regard to learning up Malaysian law. Okay, anything else? Other question, please?
Mr. Yee, I think we have come to the end. It's almost the end of our session due to a time constraint.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Yee. Thank you, Mr. Yee. Great questions and answers from both the panelists and our fellow audiences. Unfortunately, those are the only times we have today. Thank you, everyone, for participating. We really do appreciate your interest in this very important issue. Also, I would like to thank our panelists. Thank you for your time and sharing. We will be sure to make full use of the knowledge and appreciate it so much. Hope to see you all again in the future. Stay safe, everyone. Mr. Yee, before we end our session, could we take a group photo?
Oh, what do we do? I don't do anything, right? Just sit here, right?
Yeah, just sit and smile in front of the camera. Our facilitator will help us in taking it.
All right. You see, when you talk about taking group photo, everyone turns on their camera, you know. When I want to talk to you all don't want to turn on the camera.
Perhaps we should tell it earlier so that everyone will on it earlier.
You see, now everyone start adjusting their hair lah, tudung lah, everything lah, waiting for the group photo only. Everyone.